Have you ever seen a YouTuber talk to you honestly about the purchases they've made and whether they should have made them or not? Well, that's what this is. So right now, where are we? December 2025. This is my main camera, the Fuji X-T2. This is the 16th camera that I've had in 8 years. I'm going to go through what I got and why I got it. And you can help me decide in the comments whether you agree with the reasons that I give you. The last time I remember having a film camera was when I went to Australia in 2005. Don't remember which camera it was, but it was definitely film. At some point after that, I think my friend Tracy Calder gave me a Canon 400D. I can't remember where else it came from, and I think she upgraded and I got the what was spare. So that was the camera I had until about 2012, something like that, when I was asked by my aunt to record her wedding. The Canon 400D, which is actually all right, doesn't shoot video at all. So I needed to get something else. And I got a Canon 600D, so basically the same camera as the 400D. It was all very familiar, and it can shoot video at full HD. So that's why I got that, because I needed it. I decided to try this YouTube malarkey, and in order to do that, the Canon 600D was my main camera, and I needed a video camera to film me doing YouTube content. So I got the Canon M10, which was a APS-C camera. It was very small, and so that was specifically for making YouTube content. So because I needed it, because I didn't need it, but I needed a camera that could shoot video, and that was the one I went for. The M10, I quite liked it, but it didn't have a microphone input. So the only video that you can do, which was the whole reason that I got it, was to record onboard sound, and the mic wasn't very good. So I upgraded. In June of 2018, I bought the Canon M50 because I needed it, because I'd failed on my previous purchase. So I was in this kind of YouTube video making groove at the time, or wanting to, and I was missing the perspective of what I was looking at. So I got the GoPro Hero Session 4, which is, and it's the session that's important about that. So GoPros are about that big. The Hero Session is the little cube. And I was sitting that on top of the hot shoe of my camera and using that as like a perspective thing. And that actually worked really well for me. I quite like that little thing. So nothing changed until I got to April of 2019. I'm kind of not proud of this, but it is what it is. In that I bought the Canon 5D Mark I, which even for me at the time was an old camera, and that was kind of the point of it. The more I'd been watching YouTube, there was this sort of mystique about that particular camera. It makes a really nice clacky noise when you shoot, and the sensor does give nice results. And actually, I've got one of the shots from I think 2 videos that I made with that camera on my wall. This is where we get complex. That was also the point where I had left my full-time job, which had been funding all of these purchases up until that point. And I decided, right, okay, I'm going to go into freelance photography and video making, and I need the professional level kit for that. I got what I thought was genuinely the best thing to do at the time, which was I'd split photography and video into 2 distinct things. So for video, I thought that the Lumix GH5 was the best thing for video at the price point that I was at. So I got that. And then a month later, I got the Sony a7 III. Now, there is a reason for the Sony a7 III purchase, in that I've kind of talked about it in a previous video, but I did a client shoot with the Canon 600D, and I noticed when I got back that almost every shot, even though the autofocus was on the eye as far as I could see and nothing was malfunctioning, it was focusing on the bridge of the nose. It wasn't quite accurate enough, and the subject wasn't moving at all. So for a number of reasons, I got the Sony a7 III. So and actually that was a pretty good decision. So I did need it. By the way, at this point, I've sold the Canon 400D, which I sold for £40. I've got a Canon 600D, a Canon M10, a Canon M50, a GoPro Hero Session 4, a Canon 5D Mark I, a Lumix GH5, and a Sony a7 III. So that's 6 different types of batteries. Absolute madness. And the first thing to go was the Canon 5D Mark I. So I had that for about 4 months. I can't remember how much I bought it for, but I sold it for £205. I think I kind of lost a little bit of money, but not much, like 20 quid or something. Wasn't too bad. I hadn't really been using the GoPro Hero Session 4 for a while. It was just kind of the very specific things that I was using it for. I didn't feel like I really needed it anymore. So I sold it. I'm going to say I didn't need it. Having affirmed that the Sony a7 III is my main photography camera, I sold the Canon 600D. Don't know how much I sold it for, can't find the record of it, but it's gone. So that went in August of 2019. The M10, that really was a why am I hanging on to this thing? So I sold that in November of 2019. Now we're into 2020, and we can all remember what happened in 2020. Actually, I did 2 shoots really close to lockdown. 2 shoots? 3 shoots. I did 3 shoots really close to lockdown. But I started rationalising, and I sold the GoPro Hero Session 4. So I'd had the GH5 for about 8 months at that point. I barely used the thing. Getting small businesses to spend money on a video is literally the most difficult thing that I've ever done. As well as that, occasionally, when I did do a little bit of video, I was using the a7 III because the video, I found that the video was perfectly good. I decided to get rid of the GH5, and I'm going to call that, it wasn't quite right for me, but really, I didn't understand it. Apart from the one time when I used it for a beach shoot, I really struggled. That really came to a head when I tried to do and it was a dancer and a drummer. What definitely came out of it was the GH5 footage was really grainy. I just couldn't light it enough. And that was like the final kind of, I don't know what I'm doing with this thing. So we're into summer of 2020, and to replace the kind of the action camera, the camera that I don't have to worry about, I got a DJI Osmo Pocket. We got a dog in that year, and I thought it would be nice for filming him. So I did use it for going in a swimming pool with him and that sort of thing. It's quite good for kind of, you don't have to worry about it. It's pretty tough. In March of 2021, I got to the point where I'm really not making YouTube videos at all. So I decided to get rid of the M50. So that was me kind of waving goodbye to YouTube for a little while. For just over a year, I've only got the Sony a7 III and the Osmo Pocket. June of 2022, what I was starting to get worried about, and quite rightfully so, is that what happens if I'm on a client shoot and my camera breaks. I couldn't afford another Sony a7 III, which Logic suggests is what you should actually buy. So I got what I thought was the next best thing in my budget. So I got a Sony NEX7. I've got a backup camera. And I had that for a few months, and I tried it on a couple of shoots, and they look pretty similar, but I could never get them to totally tie in, which again is kind of going back to my editing prowess or lack thereof. So it didn't really do the job that I wanted it to, so I sold it. So just before I sold that, I bought this, and that was, I'd stopped experimenting and I was worried about breaking my main camera, so I got this deliberately not a backup camera. I'd started to build my studio in the garage, and I was thinking, well, why don't I get a studio specific camera? That thing that I got was a Canon 5D Mark II, and this is because YouTube told me to. I can't remember who it is, and then after 2 months I kind of came to my senses. What am I doing? What have I done? Why have I got this? This is stupid. And I sold it. £204 in May, £261 in July. But in the middle, I bought a couple of batteries, I think. November 2023, I finally got rid of the Osmo Pocket. I really wasn't using it anymore. And then in April of 2024, I got this camera, the Sony ZV-1. So this is very much intended as a not my phone. I was trying to use the Sony a7 III as my main photography camera, and it broke. Specifically, the hot shoe broke, and that was when I was doing quite a lot of flash photography, so I really needed the hot shoe. Circumstances forced me into using the Fuji X-T2, which was never meant to be a backup camera. It forced me into using it as a backup camera, and because it took so long for Sony to fix the Sony a7 III, the X-T2 just kind of became my main camera. And I was looking at smaller, cheaper, kind of pocketable Fuji cameras, of which there aren't many because the used pricing of Fuji cameras is absolute madness. But there are a couple of glimmers, and one of them was the Fuji X10. I took it on holiday to Norfolk, intending it to be my kind of, I'll have fun here kind of thing. And although I carried it everywhere on that holiday, I didn't use it. I think I took 2 photos with it. In order to turn it on, you have to turn the lens. And so what I wanted for it to be a kind of I'll just take a photo kind of thing, became it's not that. Oh. It just felt like it defeated the object of something that was better and more convenient than my phone. Moment of clarity, if you like. I'm not going to keep this camera until it becomes worthless, and I sold it. This is the stupidest pricing in the whole of my camera journey. I bought the Fuji X10 in September of 2024 for £210. I sold it in October of 2024, so 1 month later, for £320. I decided, right, okay, I'm going to commit to the Fuji ecosystem, just not this camera that I've got, but I'm going to commit. So I noticed that MPB, who I was selling the X10 to, also had a XH1 for £409. So I got that instead. When I got the a7 III back, it was kind of redundant at that point because I'd already made the decision. It was kind of, or rather the decision had been made for me by circumstances. So in December of 2024, I sold the Sony a7 III for £545. We're into 2025 now, we're nearly there. I'm a Fuji user now. I've got the X-T2, I've got the XH1, and so they are my interchangeable kind of, everyday kind of business pleasure cameras. I've also got the ZV-1 for just kind of recording stuff, and that's absolutely fine. But I just can't shake this kind of, I want like an experimentation camera. So I tried it again, and I got the X-T10, which is kind of like a shrunken, older version of the X-T2. Don't ever underestimate the value of the camera sitting exactly in your hands. So Fuji X-T2, I don't know if you can see it, but that's the shutter actuation button. I've got my thumb exactly on this button, which could be the back button focus, but I don't know if you see that angle of the thumb is not ideal for me. But look where my middle finger is. My middle finger, naturally, on the X-T2, sits exactly on this programmable button. So that is, my back button focus is actually front button focus on this camera. This camera perfectly fits in my hand. And I thought the Fuji X-T10 would do the same thing, just a little bit smaller and kind of a bit throwaway because it was worth less. But it doesn't have that button on the front. And so I was having to use the top button as the focus, the half push that everyone used to do. So the half push button there, I just didn't like it. Too small, too awkward, sold it. And I sold that 2 months ago. So that's where we are now. But that's the roller coaster. 6 years, 16 cameras, and let me know what you think. God, I hope I don't buy anything for a while.